everybody. We are back with Signed the Traitors here on Silent Podcasts. I am your host, Katie, and I am here with my co-host, Javier. We are Carrie-less tonight. She is booked and busy. She's doing her PhD. She's working. She's got a lot going on. So we are without her tonight. We might have Isaiah pop in soon. We don't really know. So could have a surprise in store. But other than that, we are here. Well, we are anything but silent, and we're excited to talk about the reunion. Javier, how are you?
I'm excited to be back to talk about this show. We shared a lot about the show while watching it, and the fact this reunion came so kind of like far after it, kind of like brought me back. And I thought a lot of people's opinions would change, but it seems that people have not changed after watching the show, after watching the public opinion. I don't know when this was filmed, but some people have not changed at all. It seems. Let's say that.
Not changed at all. It was filmed recently. I know that because it was when Taylor Hale was in New York City a few weeks ago. She was like out hanging out with all of them. It was probably like 2 or 3 weeks ago that it filmed. So it was not that long ago, maybe a month. But it was recent enough where they should have had enough time to watch the show back and be like, oh, not only did I get played, but like I looked like a fool on TV. So let me come on this reunion and save face.
Exactly.
But they didn't do that. Nobody did that. Not one person did that.
I got played, and that's fine. It's a game, but
it's a game called The Traitors.
So crazy. It was just insane to hear all these people's unchanging or unwavering. I think the best word is actually unwavering.
Yes.
It was too much. It was too much. Well,
they were almost like indignant in their opinions. They were like, I just couldn't. We'll get into it. I just couldn't believe what I was watching. But you're right. I do want to talk about the fact that this show ended. It came out, in January, early January, and the reunion came out the last day of February. It feels like they randomly just were like, oh, maybe we should do a reunion for this. And then they had Andy Cohen host it, which in itself is a little bit of a weird choice because Andy Cohen is not related to the show whatsoever. He does all the reunions for Bravo, but you can almost tell like when Andy Cohen watches a show, and then when he doesn't watch a show religiously and does a reunion. So like there's like Housewives reunion Andy, and then there's like Below Deck or Summer House reunion Andy. And I feel like we got the Below Deck and Summer House version of reunion Andy and not like the top tier Housewives reunion version. If you're a Bravo fan and you're watching or listening, you can pick up the subtle differences, but clearly this man didn't even know what he was talking about because he opened the reunion saying he should have shared the money.
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about Andy Cohen. Like, I don't really watch like any real Bravo or like all stuff, but yeah, he definitely seemed. I will give Andy this. I do think he's solid at his job. It seems for someone who didn't watch the show. Like, I did get that vibe as well, but I will say he did a good job of at least like being like a decent moderator. Like, he did ask some good questions that I feel like sometimes in reunions, like people are not. Or hosts don't really ask. Like they don't really press people sometimes in reunions. So it was nice to see that. At least he like pressed like Andy and Quentin and like Michael and everyone. Literally, that's the thing I liked about Andy. He wasn't like afraid at least to ask the questions, even though sometimes I could tell that I was like, he doesn't actually really understand the dynamics that well of the house.
Yeah, he is good at poking at some of the, getting some answers and really asking like sort of tough questions. I think yeah, but one thing I do want to call out is that Brandy wasn't there, which was, I think, neither was Reza. I don't know why Reza wasn't there. I don't know why Brandy wasn't there either, but this coming from a Bravo background, and it is unfortunate Carrie's not here because we could get into this about Brandy, but I've totally lost my train of thought. Okay, so sorry. So this is going to be a quick spoiler, maybe, for the Ultimate Girls Trip Season 4, which just filmed. We haven't even seen Season 3 yet, but Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip Season 4, if you don't want to know anything about like casting or some of the stuff that went on behind the scenes, skip ahead like 30 seconds. But Brandy got removed from filming. She was on the cast. She got removed because she allegedly assaulted another housewife. And like sexually assaulted another housewife, not like physically violently, but allegedly sexually assaulted someone. So it's safe to say, I think that's probably why she wasn't there, because that happened before the reunion filmed. So that's my speculation. It feels to me like Bravo's probably, or Peacock or whoever is probably done with Brandy. So that is my speculation about why she wasn't there.
Oh
But I felt like we were
wow.
missing her a little bit. I mean, I'm not supporting her.
Yeah.
It's not surprising if you know the history of Brandy, but she, I think, would have brought a lot to this reunion if she was there.
Yeah, like I mean, I don't know if I miss her not being on it because during the show I was like, if you listen to the podcast before, you know that I was like very big Brandy fan, very
Mm-hmm.
big Brandy fan. I'm Big Brother. I mean, to hear that, like, yikes.
Yeah.
So
It
well,
hasn't been confirmed yet. I don't know if
yeah.
it'll ever be confirmed. They're probably not going to show it on the show. I'm sure there's some legal stuff going on. But yeah, I did want to say it was a glaring absence. It's
Wow.
unfortunate that her actions were what they were. But I think we missed her a little bit. If that didn't happen, I would have liked to have seen her there because I think she could have been on
Agreed.
the side that we needed more people on because,
Yes.
like we said, these people were, they just really were proud to be wrong.
Proud to be wrong is the best way to put it. They were
Yeah.
like, I'm wrong and I'm okay with it, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
keep
Not only
being
am I okay
wrong.
with it, I'm going to scream about how wrong I am.
Oh Lord, some things never change. Remember, I feel like the slogan
Truly.
during our podcast prior was Quentin was the king of loud and wrong.
Yes.
He is still the king of that. Has not
Louder
allowed
and
that.
more wrong. And he's continuing to double down on social media, which I want to talk about when we get there.
Yeah.
But what did you think? Okay, so they opened the show and the Traitors weren't out on the stage, but then they brought
Mhm.
them out like 20 seconds later for, I guess, like a dramatic entrance. It didn't really hit for me. But what did you
Mm-mm.
think about Christian's outfit?
Christian, I'm sorry, but he looked like a tool. Like
Well,
which is the vibe he was giving
fitting.
during the show. Like it's not shocking, but
Yeah.
I thought that for me, I thought maybe Christian was playing up a character on the show,
Hmm.
but I don't know. To come in that outfit is just show like maybe he wasn't. Maybe this is just who he is. Like,
I think it's safe to say this is just who he is. I mean, this man's belly button was staring at me in the face the entire time, every time. Poor Cerie. Like, Cerie looked so beautiful. And then
oh
she's
my
sitting next to this
god,
man in this ugly hat and this ugly vest with no shirt on. And the one thing I will say is Andy was like, so this is the outfit you decided to wear. And
yeah.
that's what I like about Andy Cohen when he's not with the Housewives is that he has no hesitation of dragging these people as well. And he
Hmm.
did it a couple of times, which I appreciate.
Yes, yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. That's what like I liked about Andy.
Hmm.
Like even though he wasn't like clearly he's not a Trader super fan, but he has a sharp tongue and he was using it, and I love that about him.
Yes, yes. Um, Anything else from like the beginning that we should talk about? We got some intros. We
Mm.
saw Ryan Lochte. I think the only thing Ryan Lochte said the whole time was like, woo.
Big
I think
Ryan
that's
Lochte
pretty much
energy.
it.
Yeah, half honestly, the way this reunion to me worked, I guess just to think about it globally, it was like it's pretty much how the show played out, where the only people who talked were the people who like had any sort of impact. So it was the traders,
Yes,
Kate, Andy, and Quentin. Really, that's it.
pretty much.
And
And everybody else was
yeah.
just sitting there
Mhm.
without a word to be said.
Yeah, multiple people literally said nothing. Like
Nothing.
half the cast, half the faithful said nothing. It was kind of wild, actually.
I don't know why I mean, you have to think it's kind of it has to be somewhat of an expense to bring these people into New
Hmm.
York where the reunion filmed and have them sit there. Just for them to say absolutely nothing is really kind of a choice. Like, we didn't even find out why Amanda officially left the game.
Yeah.
You would think that in a reunion, they would have announced that or just been like, Amanda,
Hmm.
why did you end up leaving? And she could have said, I had COVID or whatever it is that ended up happening. Very
See, I didn't
strange.
even know Amanda was there. You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't
I
even think
think
did
she
the
was
camera
sitting
ever
next to Ryan
pan at
Lochte.
her? Did the camera even pan at the poor girl?
I think only because we saw Ryan Lochte say, woo. I was like,
He
oh,
was
Amanda's here.
sitting.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about the reunion.
Yes. I mean, I'm with you. I feel like the only person that I'm surprised got as much screen time as they did was Michael. And I want to
Mm,
talk about Michael a little bit because Michael really came for Cody Calafiore. And I was shocked. I
yes.
was in awe. I was kind of happy about it because it really made me laugh. I was like, oh, he's like Big Brother Twitter right now, live on
Yeah.
this reunion. That's what this man is bringing to us right now.
Yeah, no, Michael definitely he threw some really good shade at Cody. Even though before that he said something that I felt was a little like messy. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. How do we want to just talk about Michael now since we're on
Yeah.
his the
Let's just
topic
talk
of
about
Michael?
Michael now.
Yeah. I think I wrote down exactly what he told Cody because it was so funny. I don't remember though. Let me see. I don't know if you remember Katie.
He said about Cody, I think Andy was asking, like, who do you feel like was the reason that your name got thrown out. And instead of saying Kate or Brandy, who literally were coming for him for like 3 eliminations or banishments or whatever they're called, he was like, Cody. Cody came for me and he was like, you knew I was having a mental breakdown and having an anxiety and panic attack, and you came for me anyway. And Cody was like, yeah, I did. It's called the Traitors. That's what you're supposed to do. And then he said something, I don't have the exact quote, but he said something along the lines of like, well, I'm not one of the dumb bro or the one of your bros or one of the dumb girls you surround yourself with when you play these games. So he's like,
Yeah,
this is how you play. And I was like, oh my God, this is a mess. This
it
man is a
was a
mess.
mess. And I remember when he said the like the dumb girls comment, which was wild for me for him to say. Like half the like I remember Rachel like broke her neck. She was like, and like
Yep.
everyone was like, "Whoa, Michael! Like, what are you trying?
Yep.
Hold on, like, relax." You know?
I know it's kind of wild. I loved it. A lot of people I think on social media were like, "Whoa, I don't know why he came so hard," but I thought it was pretty
Yeah, I
hilarious.
definitely think his energy was misdirected. I guess is the word I want to use. Like,
Yes.
Cody was probably not the main reason he went home.
I
I mean,
also
he
feel
did
like
kind of
Kyle
acknowledge
was
that
the
it
one
was
who,
his fault actually. Because let's be honest, if you watch the show, Michael became insufferable, unfortunately, and that's why he went home.
yeah, it was really Michael's own doing, I think.
Doing
And Kyle was the one that was like, "Let's just, you've been saying a lot of things. Let's just like get him out so we can focus." So I actually would put it more on Kyle on that final banishment, but whatever. No one asked me.
true. Actually, you're right. Yeah, he was the last person he really beefed with. Kyle was like, "Bro, like, we just got to get you out of here." Like,
Yeah.
so.
What did you think about everybody's reaction to Suri at the start? I feel like I mean, Suri and Kate really owned the entire reunion. I
Hmm.
think in terms of rootability, I don't think there's anybody else you can root for on the show, on the entire show, aside from Kate and Suri. But in the beginning, it felt like, well, first of all, Andy was like, did you think about splitting the money with, and this is how you know this man doesn't watch competition reality. Because, first of all, I think that's probably against the rules. And second of all, like, why would she ever think about splitting the money with these two?
Yeah, that really got me mad. I'll be like, in what world does it even make sense? When he said that, I was like, why would she do that? Why would you even ask that? Like, first of all, you're putting her in like, I feel like he put Suri in a very awkward position. Suri
Yes,
already, all these people already have this like, I mean, I'm not gonna say like hatred or vitriol, but they definitely feel some type of way about Suri.
definitely.
And then put her on the spot and saying, oh, like, like Suri needed the money for her own reasons. And at the end of the day, even if Suri were the richest woman on earth, she ate that game up, and it doesn't matter if she needed the money or not. Like, at the end of the day, she
Yes,
deserved that money because she played the best game. So that question
exactly.
really got under my skin.
Exactly. I want to introduce our very own trader before we get too far in. He can have a dramatic entrance as well. Isaiah is here with us. He's entering just like the traders entered the reunion, just a minute late. Isaiah, how are you?
You're
You're
muted.
muted.
No, I'm good. Just like the chairs, I got a lot going on, but I'm here.
Well, we're happy to
Um,
have you.
that BS take about Cody, I'm gonna let y'all have it because I don't feel like going into that. But
We know you're
You
a
no,
got
Cody
to get the
stan.
Cody defender. I
Yeah, the
completely
Cody
get
oh
defender
yeah,
has
it's not
logged
even
on.
that. Listen, these people are weird, but you know what? I'm not gonna mess up y'all flow. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like you're talking about basically the energy towards Suri, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. At the beginning of the episode specific of the reunion specifically, I think first of
Mm,
all we're talking about Andy asking her if she would split the money, and she was like, maybe if it was $1 million, but like, Suri, you would not have split $1 million with these people either. Like, you don't
listen,
even
it's not
owe
even
them
that.
that. Don't even pretend because it's
These
not for them. It's for you. You earned it.
I feel like, the faithful in this situation, I mean, they're irritated. I mean, cool, whatever. I don't know when they filmed it, but it's like, it feels like there's a lot of heat specifically towards the traders this time around when it's like the game is called Traders. Like, you guys literally would have done the same exact thing if you were in this situation to be a trader. And it felt like a lot of heat was kind of being thrown towards the four of them, specifically Cody and Suri, and it's just like, who cares? Like, you guys all would have did the same thing if you were here. This is what you signed up for. Now, granted, people like Kate didn't really know what she was signing up for,
it.
uh, but like, it's you would have did the same thing if you had the same title. So if the convo's towards Suri, yeah, I think that like a lot of energy was kind of like being thrown away. Like, I can't believe you would do this, this, and that. Um, whatever. There's something that Quentin said that I'm iffy on, but I mean we'll get to that in a
Yeah,
second.
we
But
will
yeah.
spend plenty of time talking about Quentin. I don't even want to talk about him yet because we have so much to say about him. Let's save it for when the time is right because there's plenty he said on social media as well. There's been a
Mhm.
lot with Quentin, and I feel like he deserves a few words, but we'll keep it for another minute. What about Stephanie? Saying she's like, yeah, I mean, like, I'm friends with Suri, but it's not like she calls me. And I think Suri was like, what, your fingers are broken? Like, what is this? I mean, even Stephanie, they've known each other for how many years? They played Survivor together. It feels like weird energy all around.
It feels like the snake in the grass connection was real this time,
Yeah,
and it was like specifically like Sari, Rachel, and Stephanie, and I feel like there's probably plenty of times where Rachel and Stephanie felt like Sari was a traitor, but like they probably didn't say anything just to protect her, and she's like, I felt like I wasn't being protected. Da, 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 da. It's like no one told you to do that, you dummy.
Mhm.
So
right,
it's like I mean, no shade, but it's just like, why are you getting angry for like, you playing bad? You can't
right,
say that I didn't ever like put sus on you. There was plenty of points where you were like, I think Serene might be a traitor. Like, I remember those parts.
Mhm.
So, um, I don't know if you took it up with yourself to have a preconceived notion with no facts on this, then I can't really get mad at anyone but you. Like you did it to yourself at that point. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I fully agree. I feel like Stephanie was just first of all, like this reunion was filmed so far after. I don't know, in
yeah,
my opinion, once you do a show, don't get me wrong, I'm sure I would let's say I got betrayed too, I would probably be a little annoyed, mad for like a week or two. But to be mad like 6, 8 months later, like come on, you gotta move on from this. Like we were playing a game, especially someone like Stephanie, who's not like she's not like Andy and Quentin, who have never played reality
right,
TV, who don't know that this is what you do. Like Stephanie's played Survivor. I'm sure I haven't never seen her seasons, but I'm sure she manipulated. She was playing the game, et cetera, et cetera. So it's very interesting to see like someone who I would imagine to be more of a gamer since they've played these kind of games before, still have this kind of like tension towards Suri. So I just think I was just a little shocked at that, and I wish Stephanie would have like been like, yeah, you played me, and like it sucks, but if we play again, I got you next time. Something more
exactly.
playful. I don't know. I just didn't really like that energy from Stephanie.
Exactly. And I think when you play these shows or you go on these games and, they're on TV, even if they're not on TV and you play a game somewhere else or whatever, and there's a cast of 20 people, the odds are not great for you to win. Like there's definitely significantly higher odds that you're not going to win than you are going to win. So it just feels like the fact that these people are so salty, even Bam, who was this second murderer. Like, I forgot this guy was even on the show, and he was still mad at Christian for murdering him. I was like, dude, you're coming in here with this energy. Nobody even remembers you were on the show.
Literally. Yeah, that I honestly was like, who is talking? Like, no, I'm not trying to be
Right.
shady, no BS. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, like, who is this dude?
So
It was a choice. It was a choice. And even at the end of the episode, Cerise said that they went out to dinner last night and she paid. And I'm like, so you guys went out to dinner and then these people are bringing this energy today? Like, I want to know what
still,
that dinner was like.
if anything, it makes them seem pretty fake because I doubt they were at that dinner that Sari
Yeah,
like. I mean, I don't know if Sari actually paid, but if she did, come on, y'all better put some respect on Sari's name, okay?
exactly. Exactly. Let's talk a little bit about Cody. Cody got a few, like, he got a little bit of heat from Rachel, and Rachel pulled out her thesaurus and said a bunch of words that start with C's. What did she, I wrote them down. That's the only note I took. She called him capricious, condescending, and contemptuous. And I was like, okay, well, what? First of all, like, where are you pulling this from? They all start with a C. His name starts with a C. I was just like, this is so planned and wild to me. But what did you guys think about Cody? Cody had some weird energy for Suri too when he was talking about her backstabbing him. I would love to know the opinion, especially from you, Isaiah, on how Cody handled himself at this reunion because he was a little. It was a little weird for me.
Yeah, I want to hear Isaiah's thoughts too.
I mean, look, I feel like everyone, for some reason, and I'm not no defender. Like, I've had my fair share of like Cody's ruining the game tweets across the years, but like, I don't think I've ever seen Cody outside of maybe like one instance on this podcast that Davon, but I've never really seen Cody as like a problematic person. I think people just didn't like him because he's good at or at certain aspects, and like he makes the games boring, right? And I really was confused, especially in this time around, because I don't. I mean, you guys stop me if I'm wrong. Did he really do anything problematic this season? Like, I don't think
No,
he
I don't think he did
did.
anything problematic.
So that's what I'm just like. It felt like everyone was kind of on his head, and I was just like, what did he actually do? Like, I'm trying to think. Even in Big Brother 16, it's just like in All Star, I'm just like, what is it that Cody really does? I think he just doesn't have a digestible personality that people like, I guess. But I've kind of watched him over the years, and Derek as well, kind of be like painted in like this problematic light. I'm like, I don't really know what they're doing that people call problematic. So when Rachel here is like calling them like condescending and all this stuff, I'm like, I don't think it was condescending. I'm like, Rachel, out of everybody calling people condescending, you're the
Yeah,
last
it's a
person
choice.
to be
It's a
like, come
choice.
on now. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like it's unfortunate that I've kind of developed this stance where I feel bad for the guy, because it's like it feels like everyone gets on his head. And I'm like, he doesn't really do anything wrong when you sit back and think about it. Like, it's a reunion show, so everyone's going to talk about how they felt in the situation. But he's the first person out of everyone in his cast after getting backstabbed. The first person out of everyone to get backstabbed to say this is how a trader's supposed to be. She's showing how future traders are supposed to play this game. He gives her credit off rip, where the rest of these faithful who aren't kind of like dodging strays, they're coming at Serene more than Cody is. So it's like, I'm not gonna, you know what I'm saying? Like everyone who's standing these other people aren't getting hit with criticism, but Cody says like one small thing, oh, he's the worst. Duh. It's like, come on now. Like get out of here. So I'm not a defender. I'm just kind of like, I'm using common sense. I'm just like, he's not really doing anything wrong, bro. That's just me though. But yeah.
I was confused about Cody specifically feeling it felt like he was a little salty towards Suri for making the decision to vote him out when really it seemed like Christian is the one that came up with that plan, at least by watching it back. And Cody is the one that kind of dug himself in a hole by saying, I don't remember who it was that got murdered the night before. It was like, oh, he told me that he thought it was going to be him. And he slipped up and he made a mistake and he really got himself in a situation where Kyle was like, oh, it's Cody. I know it's Cody because he said this thing and this would have happened. And it felt weird to me that he was like, well, you backstabbed me. Oh, well, you backstabbed. And she's like, no, what am I supposed to do? Defend you to the point where it makes me look bad and people are going to come look at me. Like I had to vote you out in that moment. But really it felt like it was Christian who really kind of kickstarted that and said like, I'm going to vote for Cody. But even him saying like, I wouldn't have been able to do what Suri did. It's like, you did it. You did it on Big Brother when you cut Nicole France. Like you did it. You
At the
were in a
very
house.
end, yeah.
I
At the
mean,
very
it's the
end,
same
yeah.
thing that so you're in a house for 100 days or however long Big Brother is. And at the very end, you didn't tell Nicole you weren't taking her. It's not like he did the same thing to Nicole that Suri did to these two people, essentially, on Big
I
Brother All
will
Stars.
say, and I said this before because she was hungry for that win. He kind of quenched that hunger during All Star, so I get it. I agree. I think the difference is that Big Brother, you're kind of like forced to have to pick one person to go to the end, where in the Traders you have the option to pick, yourself or like share the money with people. So the dynamic is slightly different because I feel like his brand has always kind of been like, loyalty to the people who are loyal to me and, take whoever you can to the end and boom. Where Traders, like, you're allowed to do that. Like, you can pick every other trader and go to the end with them. It's possible here this season plenty of times, but you have the option to say no. But look, I respect Cerie's option. Don't get me wrong. I would have did the same thing. Like, do what you gotta do, bro. So I mean, don't be salty because like you said, you did cut Nicole and plenty of other people other times. But
After
yeah.
a much longer show. And it's not like, and Suri was going to win anyway at the end. There's no way that Andy or Quentin we're going to get that money because they were not, no matter what we learned, no matter what, we're going to vote out Suri. So the only person Suri really maybe screwed over is Ari, but like it. Are you going to take $250,000 or are you going to take $125,000? You're going to take $250,000. And she said herself, he was only there for 2 murders or however many, and she was there from the very beginning. And why should they split the money evenly? He didn't really do anything.
Yeah, no. I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on Ari that I guess we'll get to eventually when
we'll get to him too.
Ari. But no, yeah, for me, when it comes to Cody, for example, like in this reunion, I feel like, first of all, I agree with what Katie was saying. I feel like he needed to take more responsibility for his actions. Like the reason he went home, in my opinion, is because of what he did in that moment. Like he played the game poorly, and it was never Suri throwing him under the bus. Suri was not at the round table pushing Cody to go home. Suri was not spreading like rumors about Cody to go home. Suri was in a situation where she felt that she needed, everyone was turning on him because he made a bad move. And I wish he would have taken ownership of that. And I would have respected Cody more for that if he did that. I also don't like that Cody continued his whole like, oh, this game is so hard. I don't know if I'd be able to cut people like that. I don't know if I'd be able to be this deceptive. Like, that's another thing. It's funny that you guys mentioned Nicole Franzel because that's like a reason why I don't like Nicole either. Like, she doesn't own up to being like a snaky game player. Like, if you're going to be shady and snaky, just own up to it. And people will, I'm more fond of that and I'm more attracted to that kind of gameplay. So that's like what I don't like about Cody. I feel like he tries to really play up like he's like this really nice, great guy, and then he does shady things. Like, just say you do shady things and just own up to your mistakes.
Yeah,
and
it's just like playing the game.
Yeah, exactly. Like, again, this is all in the, like you said, this is all in the realm of a game. He's not like, I don't know what he's like outside of this world. I'm not judging Cody, but in terms of the game, I wish he would just own more his play in the Traitors and just, like, it's a game. Like, you have to be deceptive. Like, and I wish he owned up to that and more as well.
Right. I totally agree. I felt like his energy is weird. I felt like, Isaiah, you're right, maybe the energy coming to him a little bit was weird. It didn't feel like that same energy came for Christian, where I feel like Christian was definitely more cutthroat than Cody for sure. Like, Christian was just like, yeah, I love murdering people, bro. This is sick. But before we get into that, I do first want to say Christian and Geraldine, he still doesn't even know how to spell this girl's name. How embarrassing for her that you're with this man and his belly button staring us all in the face and his ugly hat. And this man on television literally is like, yeah, I don't know how to spell your name. Sorry. I don't know. I'm going to spell it wrong. Dude, come on.
Yeah,
this is wild.
That was so embarrassing. I felt so bad for Geraldine there. I was like, girl, you just admitted that you're like out here and then this man can't spell your name still. Like, I'm assuming they've been talking for months now. The show aired so long ago. Like, do you not have her name in your phone when you text her?
Yeah, what do you just call her G or J? Because he did spell her name with a J on the show.
He might just be calling her G. I wouldn't be shocked.
Mess. What a mess. She needs to love herself a little bit. But I loved Kate getting in there and being like, well, you told me that you had a crush on Shelby. And I was like, get in there, Kate, and ask a couple of questions. She should be sitting next to Andy asking the questions.
Kate was, again, a star for me in this reunion, as she was in the whole show.
Yeah. I think Kate and Suri, the two of them, I mean, we could have just had a reunion with the two of them, and I think we would have been totally fine.
Honestly, I would have.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about, Kate, and let's just talk about kind of some of the questions. I feel like, she, I think, from a person who came on the show, it seems like for the experience, she didn't seriously play the game. As she said, once I realized I was not going to win, the odds were not in my favor. I didn't want to win money for these people. So she played the game in her own way. Maybe people agree with it. Maybe people don't. But that is still a way to play the game, is to try and get the Traitors to not win any money if you think you're not going to win. Not that it would have mattered because they gave all the money to the Traitors at the end anyway, or all the money in the pot at the end anyway, and the stakes didn't matter. But what did we think about this Kate segment? She got a pretty good segment here. Any thoughts?
I mean, it's Kate. You don't really expect Kate to be like some kind of mastermind or something. She's a character. She's literally what Rachel was supposed to be.
Yeah.
So she reminded me of Rachel actually when she first got started. Actually, that's very funny. But I don't know. Kate was just there, and I think that she's okay with that. And Maybe this is the beginning to her Brandy type archetype where she goes on a bunch of celebrity shows. But yeah.
Um, Yeah, no, I mean, I thoroughly enjoy Kate. If you heard the podcast before this, you know that. I thought she had so many good like moments throughout this reunion, and honestly, I kind of agree with her. Like, if I was at the point in the game where everyone was constantly like, at times people were isolating me, people were calling me a traitor all the time, people clearly didn't trust me. Like, no matter as far as I could, and especially since she knew since she wasn't faithful, there was no way she can make it successfully to the end. Like maybe if she was a traitor and she was surviving all this time, she could still win. But as a faithful, she knew that she was never going to win. So it just felt like I feel like I don't really hate the fact that Kate kind of was a little like over the game. Like, and then honestly, towards the end, we saw that Kate actually started like competing hard in the
Yeah.
challenges, and Kate actually was putting in some work towards the end. So I feel like Kate's not giving herself enough credit. Like, yes, she had a little lull in this middle of the show, then she kind of came back, and then she went home. So yeah, I think Kate. I was very happy to see the Kate supercut as well. We got a supercut of Kate because she deserved it of
Yeah.
all her great moments. So I really enjoyed that as well.
I think out of everybody, it feels like Kate is the one who got the most, um, I would say, like, people came for her the most on the show throughout
Mm-hmm.
the episodes. And she, on the reunion at least, seemed like the best sport about the whole show. Like, she's just like, yep, I'm on TV and I did it for the experience. I wanted to wear these outfits. My whole career on TV has been on Below Deck, where I have to wear a polyester polo and a skirt. So, like, I just wanted to go into a castle and wear some cute clothes. And she did, and she ended up staying the whole time. But, like, the way that people were reacting to just everything in general. And then Ari and Andy specifically were like, well, I didn't vote you out. And then Kate was like, yeah, until you did, though. Like, you did. And either way, and Ari was like, well, I wanted to bring you to the end. Once I became a traitor, like, I wanted to bring you to the end. She's like, yeah, so you could have stolen the money from me. Like, what is that doing for me? And it's
Mm-hmm.
just like, what are you guys, what are these mental gymnastics? So you're acting like you did Kate this favor when Andy is like, oh yeah, well, I didn't vote for you until, the time I voted you out and didn't take you to the end. And then Ari's like, well, I wanted to take you to the end just to steal from you. How is that
Yeah,
helpful?
I'm glad you brought up that Andy thing because I was like, this was Andy's attempt at trying to make it seem like they played a decent, at least one good move throughout the
Yeah.
game. Like, Andy, do not take credit for that. Like,
No.
relax.
No. Yeah, let's just take credit for nothing, Andy. Let's just take credit for nothing. Let's talk about Andy and Quentin. I feel like we've and Ari. Let's just get to the end game because I feel like unless there's any more of the like the fluffy, funny stuff we could talk about. I mean, we could talk about Michael a little more, but I don't. I think we did already talk about how he dragged Cody a little bit. I don't know, Isaiah, if you have any thoughts. I think that was before you hopped on.
He got more airtime than he needed, so yeah,
Yeah,
I'm good.
yeah.
We didn't talk about Rachel yet.
That's true. Okay, let's talk about Rachel. Let's talk about Rachel. What are your
Rachel
thoughts
got some
on
juice.
Rachel and her really wild outfit?
It's very Rachel, she's the center of the room, just like she's a big personality. Like I mean, I don't really. Rachel Riley was my first reality television winner, so she'll always have a special place in my heart. So I never get surprised by any of her antics anymore. Like, I don't call her immature. I don't think that she's annoying. I just think that she's just Rachel, and I'm always going to defend her no matter what. So yeah.
Yeah, I really like Rachel. Like I liked her on Big Brother, um, but it's just very. First of all, her outfit was a nightmare.
Nightmare,
she had
nightmare.
some audacity to try to defend that look because I was like,
This is couture.
yeah, I was like, girl, why are you lying to yourself and everyone here? But the thing with Rachel's like, unfortunately, I feel like Kate like overshadows Rachel, and she just eats Rachel up so effortlessly that like if Kate weren't there, Rachel would be able to shine
Yeah.
more, which is sad to say because I think I really like Rachel as a personality, but just whenever she would say anything, Kate always had a better comeback. Kate had a better response. Like it's just to me like Kate and Rachel fit similar roles on a reality TV show, and
Hmm.
unfortunately for Rachel, Kate just does it better and more effortlessly. So that's just how I feel about Rachel. And in this reunion, we saw like Kate multiple times. When she commented on her look, she's like, "It's very enthusiastic."
Yeah.
She said Rachel's outfit looks like Gone with the Wind, fabulous off Broadway. So like,
Yeah.
it's just it comes like this to Kate. Like it doesn't feel rehearsed. It just feels like she's just so quick witted, and that like help that kind of kills Rachel's shine. Even though I still do like Rachel.
I think having Rachel and Kate on the season together I don't know what we would have talked about the whole time on the show if the two of these women were not on the show together, because you're right. And I loved this, whoever asked the question on Twitter and was like, I feel like you guys are so similar, and Kate was like, well, Rachel actually like does the most, and I just like am chilling. And I'm like, yes, that is the main difference. Like Rachel really is always at all times doing the most, and Kate is very like, she's dry, she doesn't miss a beat, she's just, she's just on it, but she's not over the top.
Yep.
But those two, their personalities played off so well with each other that they really gave us the most entertainment on the whole season. I don't know what we would have watched or talked about if the two of them weren't on the show together.
It would have been bad.
She
Just
finally met her
as if we
match.
didn't drag the faithfuls enough.
I know. Well, I do also want to just say to Michael, like, you don't have to suck up to Rachel. You've already sucked up to her, so you don't have to tell her that she has the best fashion sense on the whole show. Like, she definitely clearly doesn't. And I know there are Rachel stans out there who are like, I love Rachel's clothes. Like, no, they're not, guys. They're not good. We can admit she has a unique style, but the clothes are not good. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Let's get into everyone else. Let's get into these faithfuls. Let's get into this final four. Where to begin? Should we start with Ari? Should we start with Quentin? Should we start with Andy? Where do you guys feel? Where is your heart telling you that we need to start here?
I think Ari. I feel like Quentin
All right,
and
let's
Andy
go.
deserve more time because they got the most screen time outside of Cerie. So
Yeah.
Okay, let's start. Let's start with Ari. We did get a really good moment of Kate really telling Ari how absolutely wrong he was to call her a cancer in the house. I did not know that he was doubling down in interviews,
yeah, I
saying
didn't know
like
that
she was
either.
a cancer in the house. But her retort to him was perfect. And then Ari, same thing. He's like, I would have brought you to the end, and she's like, okay, that does not, like, literally would have done nothing because I would have lost. So like, why would I want to go to the end? This guy's a mess. I think he got a much better edit than he probably should have gotten given his showing on the reunion.
And what the other thing was, I don't remember the girl from Staten Island's name, but it was
Oh,
funny when she called him
Angelica.
out. She was
Yeah.
like, "I hated him on his season. He was the
He was
worst."
he was a horrible
And
bachelor.
everyone says that. I thought it was hilarious that she called him out on that. That was
Yeah,
so
that was
good.
amazing. That was a top tier moment on the reunion.
You know, anyone that hasn't been on Big Brother or Survivor this season, I give a little leeway to because this is actually their first reality competition experience. So they, they haven't had to vote people out. They're still going through the motions. So I do give a little free space. I'm like, but at the end of the day, I think Ari has probably the most interesting pathway here because this is a guy who was a faithful at first and then kind of had to like flip on the dime and betray everybody immediately just to get betrayed. I don't know, but I mean that was also his decision. I don't, it's TV, bro. So you didn't have to walk off. I mean, it seemed like the writing was still on the wall, but it was also his option to like kind of throw Suri under the ball. I mean, under the deck or not, whatever. Throw so under the bus or not. And he didn't do it. So I'm just like, don't be a hater in interviews and stuff. I haven't seen any of it, but if he is going on all these things talking trash, like bro, like let it go. Come on now. But yeah,
I
Yeah.
think just for Ari, like two things I want to say. I feel like Ari should have gotten more heat than Suri. And I feel like Suri actually tried to make that point multiple times that Suri was saying, I was picked to be a traitor. I didn't have that option.
Yeah.
Ari was a faithful for so long and he had the opportunity to say no. And then he became a traitor and he got no heat. He was the only person on that show who chose his role.
Yeah.
And the fact that he didn't get any heat for that from people like Andy and Quentin, who are so much like, this is more than a game, like emotions, blah, 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 blah. But this guy actually had the option to not have to play the game the way he did, and he still chose that, and he didn't get enough heat for that. So which really annoyed me. I wrote down Kate's drag to Ari because it was so good about the
Yes.
whole cancer thing. So I just wanted for everyone who's listening to know what exactly she said. She said, what a cancer I'm in this group. What a cancer in a group does is betrays your body and turns on you, and it kills you because it's greedy. And that's exactly what you did when you became a traitor. And when she
Yep.
said that, I was like, this is poetic. Like I was like, round of applause for Kate because she really ate him up. And yeah, Ari he really during the season, I kind of was like, oh, Ari's not that bad. But after this reunion, I was like, Ari's annoying as hell. Like I did not think this was a good showing for him at all.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think Ari on the show, the edited version of Ari, I was like, "Oh, he was probably a good choice as a traitor." I think he ended up doing a decent job until he decided to quit. I mean, that was like a baffling decision on the show. I It feels like, based on the way they were talking about this, there was a lot of conversation about personal lives and family and people's situations at home, which I don't feel like we saw a lot of that. So I was very confused and I had a lot of trouble following what they were actually all talking about. So it sounded like they were saying they all had this conversation about their personal lives, and that got Ari to end up walking away from the show, which I don't really understand how one thing is tied to the other. And I don't know that they did a great job explaining that. I don't know if you guys were following. I was like, what are they talking, like, what, Suri like masterminded this whole thing to get Ari to quit? But then she kind of was like, yeah, I did do that. And I'm like, what? I don't understand what's going on here. Does anybody know? Like, can anybody explain this to me? Because I'm really confused.
I'm not 100% sure. See, and this might be jumping on. This is where I'm afraid. So Quentin spoke about like let me turn this light off. So Quentin was talking about how like something about like an all black ending.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I was afraid. So I'm still rooting for Suri. I'm not going to hate on Suri and none of that, right? I really wish we did get to see that, because this would be my only moment where I would potentially maybe side eye Suri a little bit, because if by some means there is a deal made by Quentin, Suri, and Quentin,
Andy.
Suri, and Andy, all black final three. That I'm just like, because all right, if Quentin or Andy are the ones to pitch this to Suri, it's fine, whatever, because that's on them. They made a deal, whatever. If Suri at any point this show made a deal for all three black people to go to the end, just to kind of play them after, like, because it seemed like, especially with like Andy, like they kind of bonded over a lot of personal things. I mean, we didn't see the conversations,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, but if Suri's the one to make like, all right, all black people to the end, and then kind of like turn on them at the end just to get the money, I'm gonna be like, all right, that's kind of, I had this conversation with a friend today, and I think this was probably the first time ever in life I said that, but for some reason, I don't know why it feels like that's crossing a line to me. I don't know why, because usually, like, I watch these shows like Dan and all these other people like swearing on things, it's not mattering, but that's almost like, I'm trying to think of a good example. That's like, all right, if Todrick Hall made an all black alliance in Celebrity Big Brother 2 just to sit next to Misha Tate at the end. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
Todrick, what the hell? I don't. So I hope Sari didn't do that. I don't think she would personally, but it sounded like they bonded over something. And I'm like, I don't know if that's just my mind playing headcanon or not. So that's why I'm not gonna even like be like, all right, Sari
Mm-hmm.
did X, Y, and Z. Like it is what it is at the end of the day, and they all seem to be at terms with whatever happened. So cool, but I can see why someone would like have a reaction if like, all right, Sari formed this alliance based off of that, and then just kind of like use them to the end to technically not turn on the alliance, and then be like, oh, by the way, I'm a traitor, sorry. So
Yeah.
who knows at that point, but maybe if we're looking for like a starting place, that's a big maybe, but we don't know.
To me, I got the sense, based on the way they were talking about it, that Quentin is the one that came up with that plan. But I'm only getting that because Quentin is the one that was talking about it. And Cerie said that she was not close with Quentin until they connected at the final challenge. So
Mm,
that made it feel like, to me, like maybe Quentin pitched it and Cerie just said, okay. But either way, no matter what, if Suri gets to the end with any of them, Suri's winning all the money unless she splits it with Ari. Like, there's no way in that scenario that either Quentin or Andy would have a chance to take the money. If a traitor gets to the end, they win the pot. Right? And if it's two traitors, then two traitors split it and the faithfuls get nothing. And
Mm-hmm.
I guess, to me, I'm like, well, Suri at least gave them the opportunity to go to the end and vote her out. They just didn't do it. Like, and they were
mm,
sitting there doubling down saying, like, there's no way I was voting Suri out. That would never happen. It was never even in my mind. There's no chance. Whereas like Kate, I don't think Kate would have voted Suri out. Maybe she would have, but like she didn't even have the opportunity to make a decision. Like she was murdered or she was banished.
Right.
But at least Andy and Quentin got the opportunity. And it sounded like Ari was saying he was giving them hints, but like I wouldn't have picked up on those hints either. That's the one thing I will say to Quentin and Andy. Like I would not in that moment have ever been like, oh, he said good luck and not congratulations. Like I should pick up on that. Like I wouldn't have. So I mean I can understand on that, but I don't know. This whole energy was like a little weird to me. I just feel like we missed a lot, and I don't know where we went wrong here.
That's also why I'm like, all right, because as you said that she's a traitor, so she'll always get the money. That's what I'm saying. If Quentin or Andy made the deal, then it is what it is because they made that deal, and you know the ramifications if you're wrong. So all right, that's on them. Deals can be broken if they're given to you, whatever. But if she made the deal,
Yeah.
then all right, I don't know if that's that good because you knew what you had to do at some point. So you like if she made a deal based off of their likeness, and then you cut them at the end, it's like, all right, I mean, like cool, but like that kind of looks kind of crazy at the end of the day because you knew what you had to do. So it's like I personally I think Quentin did it based off of the way they spoke. But if the Traitors hasn't shown me something this season, the editing style is interesting. So I feel like we'll never know ultimately unless someone directly asks them outside the game or something. But yeah, I mean, I think everyone's kind of valid with how they feel in the situation. Like I said, Quentin and Andy, they've never played a game before, so like I give them a little free space. I give them a lot more free space than like a Cody or a Stephanie because like you guys knew what was up at this point, But yeah,
The only thing I will say is, Suri, if you want to come clear things up, Sign the Traitors is open.
We are
I'd
open.
love to speak to you about this.
I would love to.
Second thing, though, I will say, just to continue, like, talking about, like, Ari a little bit, like, Ari saying, like, Suri made this personal as well, and Ari, he keeps saying he should have said something, but the thing is he could have said something. He didn't have to, he chose to, like, basically give the game to Suri, and maybe Suri would have won anyways. Probably she would have won anyways, but he had the opportunity to really, if he really cared that much about how personal Suri was making it, and he really cared that much about like how Andy and Quentin felt at that moment, he should have fought a little bit harder when Suri like threw in the red, whatever it was, makeup or whatever was in that little baggie. So I just feel like Ari had the opportunity to, and then he's coming onto this reunion acting like he's like this like noble warrior, blah 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 blah. And no, like you had the opportunity and you didn't take it. So
It's also just weird to me that Andy said something in the reunion saying something like, oh, well, I thought when Ari quit the game, he wanted us all to split the money. And I'm like, what? Like, what is this? What are we talking about with this splitting the money? Like, I just don't understand what all these people are thinking of like, oh, Ari quit. So I thought that meant like he wanted us all to share the money. I'm like, he would have been out anyway because he's a traitor. So like, I don't understand why you think he's doing this noble thing of just like quitting the game, which it also just doesn't make sense to me. Like, why didn't they just vote him out? Because they were all saying Ari was, this is why I'm just like, I feel like I'm lost in the plot somewhere because Ari's like, well, she used my personal life to get me to quit, and she used everybody else's story to get Ari to quit. I'm like, how did that happen? Why did Ari quit and not just let them vote him out? Like, I just don't understand, because it wouldn't have changed anything. It would have changed nothing if he just got voted out. I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Hey, we'll never know. I also did think that was interesting that Andy Cohen brought up, like, why didn't you share the money? I'm like, dang, because coming from CBS, you're not allowed.
Well, that's
to
what
share
I
money.
thought, that you weren't probably not allowed to share
But
it.
this is also Peacock, so they probably don't care over there. So I'm like, huh, that is interesting. I didn't think of that.
And why should she share the money with these people? I mean, these people contributed literally nothing other than like letting her manipulate them.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Quentin for a second. More than a second. Definitely a lot more than a second. Because this guy, to me, he's on Twitter and he's going back and forth. He had a conversation with Alex, who was on the circle not this past season, but the season before, who's also a friend of Alert Alert. Carrie has interviewed him a couple of times on Silent Podcasts. And Alex was kind of like, why did you go on this show? Like, if you were a traitor, you would have had to do the same thing. And Quentin is like, I would have quit the show, and I told production I would have quit the show. Like, I wasn't coming on the show to be a traitor. I'm like, then why did you sign up for the show? Like, you knew what the show was. You know the show is called Traitors. The producers clearly explained to you what the premise of the show was, because you're saying you told them you wouldn't have done this. And in this role, you would have gone home. And Alex on Twitter literally said, so you're saying you would have gotten flown to Scotland, they would have given you the role, and then you would have quit the show? And he said, yes. I'm like, no, first of all, no, you wouldn't, because you probably signed a contract. So no, you wouldn't. And you're probably getting paid decently to be there. I feel like it all feels like revisionist history, and just the moral high ground that these people are taking on a game show is so wild to me. Like, I've never seen anything like this before.
I mean, you probably got just experience like over a month of people just tweeting at him that he's stupid. So I'm like, he probably feels some type of way. But no, he was, he's full of it. No shade. Like,
Yeah,
it is what it is. Like, I mean, look, if you really did feel that way, okay. I mean, that's production's fault at that point. But who cares? Like, at the end of the day, who cares? I don't. It happened. Whatever. Okay.
I just think it's what he on Twitter says. Here's what I know, right or wrong. Lying and backstabbing is not the way I want my coin. First of all, the ratios on his tweets are kind of wild. Conviction shouldn't change depending on what room you enter. Whether on TV, getting it wrong, or in real life, every day, I'm going to operate in integrity. I'm going to try and show compassion, and I'm going to say what I feel and think. And it's like, that to me just feels like it's a dig at Suri, saying that she didn't play with integrity. But she has said multiple times, she's like, I didn't backstab you, or you. I played the role that I was given, and I protected you till the end. And again, I'll say it, like, she gave them the opportunity to vote her out at the end. No one else had that chance to stand there at the fire and say, I think there's a traitor here. The two of them did, and they didn't do it, and they're just salty about it.
Like I said, people probably been tweeting this guy nonstop for the last 30 plus days. You're so stupid. Mentally, he's probably just tired, bro. You know what I'm saying? like he's probably, like, I get, if you, I personally, if I was in that situation, I would private my account like crazy, bro. Because I'm just like, I don't got time for this shit. Look, it is what it is, man. That's the risk going on these shows now.
I feel like if Quentin would just own up that, hey, I got played and it's a game, and unfortunately I got played and I felt some type of way at the time, but it's been a while and I've accepted it. Like, Suri played a great game. I don't think he would be getting like these ratios he's getting. Like, he wouldn't be getting hounded the way he is. Like, if you play a bad game and you own up to it, I think people will just be like, you're right. Like, you did play a bad game and I'm glad you owned up to it. I don't think he'll be getting all the heat he's getting. But I will say I did love how literally at the start of the episode, Andy goes, Quentin, the faithful who voted wrong the most. And that's just an amazing statistic to have, because he really voted wrong almost every time. The poor guy.
I think he did vote wrong, bro. Every time. I don't think he voted one, because he didn't vote for Christian. He didn't vote for Cody. And there was no vote for Ari. So he didn't vote correctly once. It's rough. I think in these types of situations, you just have to be able to like laugh at yourself. Exactly, yep. Javier, I agree with you, of just like, yeah, oops, I fucking blew it, huh? Like, I really sucked at that game, like, not a game for me. But to be out here and saying like, I'm gonna do whatever with integrity, it's like, come on, dude. Like, just laugh at yourself. Same with Andy. Like, I think Andy, it felt like they were hurt because it felt like they had a real friendship with Suri, which obviously they still do have a friendship with Suri. Suri was also on Watch What Happens Live on Wednesday, I think, or Tuesday. And she was saying like her and Andy are good. Andy was sending them pictures of their baby. Like, they're all good, it seems like. But even on that show, Suri was like, I'm confused by Quentin's stance because we were not friends. Like, we did not have a relationship on the show. The only time we connected was during the last challenge. Which maybe it goes back to what you said, Isaiah. We don't know who pitched that alliance at the end. So I don't know, maybe he feels a type of way about that, but they got to show us the footage. Show us the footage.
Run the tape.
That's what I'm saying. It making it sound like that was brought up, and that's maybe why Ari stepped down, because it's like, I can't go against that. Like, let me stop theorizing. I don't know. I'm just saying. It look crazy, but yeah.
Yeah. this is a mess. I'm glad that Suri and Andy have worked things out. Andy does seem like a genuinely nice person. I haven't seen anything that they've been tweeting. They just don't seem like they're cut out for shows like this. But I did like Andy on the show. Like they seem cool. Quentin, I think, is another story. I just wish that they both had a little bit more of a sense of humor about it. Like if you're gonna like be like Kate a little bit, maybe not exactly like Kate, but Kate's there like, yeah, I didn't want to do anything physical. Like I don't care. Yeah, I'm throwing the money away because I knew I wasn't gonna win. They are still, and bam, like you were second out and you're still mad about it. Like these, it's just wild to me that like these people are actually still, who knows? I feel like probably almost a year later, still upset about it and tweeting about it. It's a lot. It's a lot.
I think so Kate did an interview on Vulture, and someone asked her, how do you feel about the way the game ended, and she goes, I think the ending was absolutely perfect. Aside from me walking away with the money, this is exactly how it should have happened. Suri deserved every red cent. Andy and Quentin didn't. Andy just coasted it the whole time. Quentin was just completely wrong. So again, anytime I
Thank
can shout
you.
out Kate, I will, because
Yeah.
and she didn't lie. She honestly did not lie. Like that's exactly how the game turned out, and she's right. Like Suri deserved that money, and she played everyone, especially Andy and Quentin. And it's unfortunate, but that is just how the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, definitely. And I felt for Suri in that moment. There was a couple of times where it seemed like she got a little emotional and she was like
Yes.
wiping a tear away because they were coming hard for her and she played a great game. And I don't think it's fair to put her, who's this queen of reality TV. I mean, she's a legend and she's an incredible player at games like this. Put her in this hot seat surrounded by people who don't know this world or this ecosystem or competition reality, with a host that doesn't understand competition reality, and then asking her why she didn't split the money and making her feel like she did something wrong by winning, because we really should be celebrating the game that Suri played because she did a great job. And honestly, I mean, no, everybody on the show was outmatched once Suri became a traitor. So I just want to give Suri her flowers because she played a really great game, and even though people are salty about it, she deserved the win. And I'm glad at least Kate, and I think of Rachel, same thing. She was saying to Ari that he's playing the victim and he was not the victim in the situation.
Yeah.
He's not the victim. Like you could have thrown Suri under the bus and you just didn't. You decided not to do it. So everybody had a little bit of a choice in the situation, but Suri just swept the floor with them, mopped the floor with them, and she deserves every penny of that money and shouldn't have split it.
Yeah, keep it all to yourself. I think her win's going to be talked about for years. Where the rest of this cast, we're not going to. I mean, no shade, but we're not going to really remember these people by this time next year. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to be like, who?
Yeah.
Who was the you know what I'm saying? So it's going to be like people talk about Kim. They don't talk about everyone else on her cast. Let's just
Right,
keep it a stack.
exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So that's all that is. But shout out to Suri. Love Suri. She killed. This was my. I only got to experience Suri for in Game Changers, and that got cut very unfairly. So like I'm glad I got to experience a Suri Mastermind season here, and she's definitely meets the hype that everyone set for her. So yeah.
That's a great point. If you're a Survivor fan, you've seen Suri lose in unfair ways more than one time in games that she should have won and would have won. And she's never once been out there complaining, being like, "Oh, these people did this to me." Like, no, that's not who she is. I think everybody could take a page out of her book, and just maybe you can come back and play the show again and play it better next time.
I mean,
just like she does.
Since we're on the topic of Suri, like, I think Suri handled this reunion very well for somebody who really felt like the target for like most of the cast, unfortunately. I think she composed herself very well. And I think Suri was making a lot of great points when she was speaking to Andy about how, and I agree with what she was saying in the sense that, we are playing a game, and like the relationships we make in this game, like especially with someone like Suri who has played these games so many times and has unfortunately lost all those times, you still build bonds. Those relationships you build with these people can be real, even though they're in the context of a game,
Yeah.
And I think she really handles herself well with Andy, and it does seem like Andy probably forgave her, and they seem to be on good terms.
Yeah.
But I just think that Suri made a lot of great points about, I think that people should take, if they do play these reality kind of games, like the relationships you build on this game, like you can take them out of this game. And even if this person has to end up backstabbing us, end up doing this, that, and the third, like you shouldn't allow that to cloud the real relationship that you made with these people. So I think Suri did an amazing job at articulating that.
Totally agree. And she even kind of said that too at the end. Like, if you play these games again, like, really cherish the relationships that you
Mhm.
make, because that's honestly like almost just as good as winning is like the friendships and the real relationships that you can build coming out of these games. And as people who have all played like online versions of games like this to a much lesser extent, obviously, than Survivor, but like it's true, you do make friendships and you meet people who maybe you wouldn't have met in other situations, and then like you carry on that bond throughout. So I can only imagine if you're on an island with people or in a castle in Scotland with people, how much bigger that can actually be. So everybody just needs to take a deep breath and just
Yeah,
realize it's a game.
agreed.
So that kind of wraps up the reunion. We did get a moment from Alan at the end, and I didn't talk about the cringe moment with Andy Cohen in the beginning of him doing the accent, but I don't want to leave that unsaid. That like that was extremely cringe, Andy. But season 2 is coming. I know we talked about this a little bit at the finale of the season on the show, so I won't ask you guys who you hope to see. But any are you excited for season 2? Do you hope it's all reality people? Do you hope it's no reality people? Do you hope it's going to be mixed? I have a feeling it's going to be mixed again, but what are you hoping for?
Yeah, I think it's going to be mixed because I saw the tweet today where they were like, "Who you want to see play again?" And there was a lot of people in the comments. I know Derek Frazier is really on the hunt to get on another
Yeah, he
TV show
really
right
wants to be on
now.
TV.
Joseph and listen, I have flipped on my original stance on Derek F. I don't have no problems. Great, he's a nice guy, you know. Uh, he wants to go on a challenge. Put him on the Traitors. I'll see him on the
I'll
Traitors.
watch
Like
him on the
I
Traitors. I
watch
would
him on
like
the
to see it.
Traitors. Yeah, I watch him on the Traitors. Kaser wants to play. Apparently, I would take Kaser any day of the
I
week. I
love
Oh,
think
I would love
Kaser.
to watch Kaser on this
it's
show.
365. Like bring me Kaser. Remember the last podcast you asked who we want to see. He was on
Yes.
Yeah.
my list, so I
Yep.
want Kaser content. And lastly, I want Tiffany Mitchell. I know there's a
Mm.
lot of Survivor bias, but I will take Tiffany. I know her and Derek ended up watching the Traitors on the podcast with Cody, but Tiffany will be very fun on this situation. I feel like you can't have that preconceived bias against her because I'm gonna be honest, these Big Brother people are going to try to kill her if they get in the house. So put her in the Traitors,
Definitely.
bro.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would love to see Tiffany on it. Another person who I saw tweet was Hannah. Hannah was also like, yo, cast, like eye emoji type of shit. And I loved Hannah on her season. I would love to see Hannah on
Mm-hmm.
reality TV again. But no, I definitely think the season, because this first season seemed like such a success. I do think if there is a second season, it is going to be mixed.
Yeah.
I wish it wasn't. I wish it was either one reality or just all newbies. But we'll see. Hopefully, the newbies that come into the second season have watched this season and understand a little bit more about how these games work. And we'll see how that ends up going for them if it does end up being a mixed season.
Yeah, I think if anything, I would prefer one or the other. Give me all reality stars, because I think the mixed cast is a little weird. I just watched, I was telling Javier before we went live, I just watched The Traitors Australia, and I finished a couple of days ago, and it's right up there with the UK. These two seasons just blow the US completely out of the water. If you haven't watched them, you really should. They're on Peacock now. And honestly, Australia and UK are just top tier. And the US does pale in comparison a little bit, and I think it's because of the mixed cast. Like, I think that the casting on Australia and the UK were just top notch. And it's interesting to see people who have never played these games before try and navigate it. And I think the newbies got definitely overshadowed by the reality stars, and then they just obviously didn't know what they were in for. Whereas the people on the UK and Australia seemed to know what they were in for. So give us at least like all reality, like a Celebrity Big Brother type of cast or something like that. I think that could be a little more interesting, but we'll see what we got.
Yep.
Any final thoughts on the Traitors? We put this to bed for now until season 2.
I have two final thoughts. As anyone who listened to the podcast before knows, I was big on Kyle. So I want to shout out Kyle again, but I want to say his hair looked, I don't know what was on the back of his
It's a
head.
mess. It's a mess.
He literally had the haircut from the show, and it looks like he put on like
Yeah.
a mullet. Kyle, you were great on the show, but please get a haircut, bro. Please.
It's
I don't know what's going on
horrendous.
there. You look like let me stop. Just please get a haircut.
I mean, I watch Summer House. I watch everything on Bravo essentially, and I mean, it's like I guess it's the same as it is on the reunion, but it's really bad. Like his wife was like curling it for him the other day on the show. It's a mess. It's
Oh.
disgusting. It's disgusting.
And then the second thing I want to say is we got a supercut of Alan's outfits. And then Alan got a shout out from Andy in the beginning, and he was talking about some fabulous outfits. And I just want to say that when he entered Alan, he really was giving me Ronald McDonald vibes. And I don't know.
Those gloves were a lot.
Yeah, for someone who's out here telling their fashion, coming out looking like Ronald McDonald was a choice. But Alan, you were a good host. But yeah, the Ronald McDonald look was wild to me. But those are my last two thoughts on the Traitors that I had to make.
Yeah, those are two good final thoughts for sure.
I'm actually going to apologize to Alan Cummings because at the beginning of the season I called him cringe. He grew on me.
Same.
So I do want to formally apologize to Alan. Yeah.
I'm sure he appreciates it. I will say he is also this is my least favorite season of the three, and he is my least favorite host of the three. If you watch the UK, Claudia blows him out of the water. She's incredible. But he was good. I mean, he has said a few times that he doesn't watch reality TV. He wasn't really familiar with any of the reality TV stars other than The Real Housewives, which is, I think, only Brandy. And he was looking at this like an acting role, and I like a host that's invested in the show more than an actor playing a role. So
Yeah.
I hope that if he is the host next season, that he gets a little more invested in the game itself, because that, I think, when you have a host like Arissa or Claudia, who was the host of the UK, you could tell she really was invested in what was going on, and that just made it much better.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we'll go ahead. We'll close it out here. Isaiah, where can everybody find you? What are you up to these days? Tell us everything.
Well, real quick, shout out to the traitor.
Oh, the
Serena.
queen herself.
Queen.
Anyways, let me stop. All right, but you can find me at 8 Ball Bangers on all social media platforms, like usual. And yeah, this was a fun podcast. If you want to hear me talk about more, you can find me at usually Sunday through Tuesday, one of those days, talking about Big Brother every single week. We have like 6 regular seasons and 1 side season left, so we're almost done. Big Brother Canada also starts next week, where we have our first line of coverage coming in. We're going to have the draft next week. We have an interview coming out on Monday or Sunday, so make sure you look out for that. And also, I'm starting to do edited videos now for Big Brother, which is pretty dope. The first one, I constructed a Big Brother Legends cast, and that's been fun. I've enjoyed the feedback for that one, so make sure you check that out in any future videos that I got coming out for that. Also, you can check out my Are You the One coverage with Sabrina. We are coming back this week. The season is going in a good direction, so check that out. And lastly, The Mandalorian. I think Katie is probably going to talk more about that, but The Mandalorian podcast, we're coming back for that, I believe tomorrow, so look out for that as well. But yeah, thanks.
Thank you. So much going on. Javier, what about you?
So yeah, you can find me on Twitter at _ the Starboy. I'm tweeting a lot again, like about all my favorite shows. Recently been tweeting a lot about Perfect Match on Netflix. If you want to watch a train wreck of a reality TV show, please watch Perfect Match on Netflix. It's
God,
been a mess.
I haven't checked it out yet, but I think I
mess,
have
but
to.
I'm too scared to approach it.
Especially if you've seen all of the shows like Love is Blind, Too Hot to Handle, you're gonna just mixing all these people has just been. I watch all of them. Like I watch all the Netflix reality TV. So it's been a recipe for disaster, but a good, enjoyable recipe for the viewer at least.
I'm so scared to touch it, man. I'm so scared to touch it.
Actually, since you like Are You the One, and I also like Are You the One, it's kind of similar to that in some aspects to it. So I think
Listen,
you actually would like it.
I saw Shane and Shake and Bartice on there, and I was like, oh boy. I'm just like, hey.
I've been seeing a lot of tweets about Bartice. I haven't watched the show yet, but I've been seeing a lot of tweets about Bartice.
Yes, Bartice is back. Not for the best though. Poor guy.
Not surprised. Not surprised.
But yeah, no, catch me on Twitter. I'll be tweeting about all my favorite shows. Maybe catch me as a guest on all these different podcasts on Silent Podcast, because I always love to come talk about all the great shows that are coming out recently, especially with Big Brother coming back. And yeah, it was great to be back to talk about the Traitors, and we'll see when season 2 comes out. We'll definitely most likely be back for that.
I'm sure we will have plenty to say. You can find me on Twitter at RealSlimKatie. You can also follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/RealSlimKatie _ at the end. You can typically find me in a bunch of places on Silent Podcast, but as we mentioned at the top of the show, Carrie has been super, super busy lately. She's just crushing it at life, so she doesn't have enough time to right now to crush it at podcasts. So we have not podcasted about the challenge or Real Housewives in a little while, but we will be back eventually once things slow down for her. So we're just on a short hiatus. But as Isaiah mentioned, you can find us tomorrow along with Naomi talking about the new season of The Mandalorian, season 3, and you can find me covering Big Brother Canada with Isaiah coming up next week. We are excited, cautiously optimistic about these digital dailies. We'll see what they give us, but we'll be talking about it either way. So you can check us out here on Silent Podcast, talking about that. And that's it. Usually I have a little bit more to say, but I don't have that much to say right now. So for Silent Podcasts, you can follow us if you would like to keep up with everything going on at Silent Podcasts. You can find us on Twitch and YouTube. If you search us there, we record a decent amount of our coverage live, so you can always check us out. We love the engagement in the chat. You can also check us out on Twitter if you want to keep up with what's going on at silent_podcasts. You can also check us out on all your favorite podcasting apps. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, whatever else is out there. We're there. Rate us, review us, subscribe. Only give us 5 stars if you can. Otherwise, just wait until you hear something that's worth 5 stars. It really helps us out in the algorithm. So do that for us if you would like to. And until next time, we will see you for season 2 of The Traitors. Bye, everybody.
Bye, y'all.